Well, hello again, guys, from here inside Selhurst Park. Now, even if Crystal Palace hadn't equalised in the 94th minute there, even if Newcastle had somehow managed to extract a victory, I think the tone of this video and the content of it would have been pretty much the same. You cannot ignore what went before. Newcastle didn't deserve to win, and this, for me, is a match that throws up more questions than it does answers. And one of those questions is, why are Crystal Palace the only club in the Premier League who don't allow journalists to record inside the stadium a couple of hours after full time? So here we are. Join me for a little walk around southeast London. Now, yeah, the point I was just about to make there before I felt the tap on my shoulder from a steward was that even if Newcastle had won that game, I don't think I could have come out of here and reflected and said, what a brilliant victory, backs to the wall, getting the goal, then showing the resistance, finding a way to win, only 1 point off second on full time and everything's looking up. Because no, for me, there was so much to concern you within the confines of the 93 minutes that went before. And Eddie Howe has just said to us there that he thought it was a strange performance. And by that, he meant for the first 2/3 of the pitch, they were good. They were very good. And I wouldn't go as far as to say very good, but I could see the point he was making. You know, I didn't think this was a terrible performance that would have been the ultimate smash and grab in terms of Newcastle being awful, because I thought they were okay in parts. But crucially, the one part of the pitch, and it's a pretty important part of the pitch, that final third, I'd written in my match report they offered close to nothing. Well, Eddie Howe actually come out and went one better than that, and he said they offered nothing in the final third. And it's true. No shots on target, no shots off target. If they'd won this game, if they hadn't conceded right the death there, they would have won a football match, a Premier League football match, without recording an effort on goal. They only would have won because of Mark Gay's own goal, and that really is quite incredible for a team who do have that ambition and that aspiration to be top four, to be a European club, to come here to Palace, a team who started the day in the bottom three, and not be able to trouble the opposition goalkeeper, not even trouble the poor guys in the stand behind the goal. They didn't trouble anyone in the final third. It really was poor in that regard, and that is why, like I say, even if someone managed to come away from here with 3 points, I think you've got to look at that. And I've always been a big believer, I can't change my tune now, that performances are the biggest indicator of what is to come down the line, not necessarily results. And that performance there, I liked what has gone before. Somehow in the final third, they've just lost composure, they've lost confidence, they don't populate the box now. Alexander Isak went off midway through the first half, having had only 4 touches. None of those were in the penalty area. Anthony Gordon went to centre forward. He then subsequently only had 2 touches in the penalty area. One of those crucially led to Mark Gay's own goal. But just in general, in the final third, Newcastle, to borrow Eddie Howe's phrase, they offered nothing. And you look at the crossing, crosses just go to no one. They go into areas rather than to a man. Now, that's not because the men aren't actually there to pick out. Harvey Barnes came on and immediately got by his fullback, and his cross looked more like a clearance in the end. It nearly went to halfway. Tino Livramento had one in the second half where he did well really early on, just pulled it back to no one. The one telling cross they did put in there had to be turned in by Mark Gay, and perhaps wasn't that always going to be the way, that if Newcastle were to score a goal, it was actually going to be a Palace player who got the job done for them. And the reason I say it's a worry and it's a concern is because you look at the players there on paper, in terms of the personnel, they haven't really got anyone to come back who's going to solve this issue. The players are there. You look at the starting 11, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Anthony Gordon, Alexander Isak, Joe Linton, Callum Wilson coming off the bench, albeit in the second half, and had that spell without Isak. Of course they did, but still, they're not bad players. So who does it come back to? Do you ask questions of the players themselves? Do they no longer believe in the system in terms of that attacking output? Does it come back to the manager? Is it just a confidence thing? Now, Eddie Howe was asked about this twice afterwards, and the first answer was a little concerning, because he said it's very difficult to answer. He pushed on why goals this year have been a problem. Last year, I think there was only 3 teams outscored them. This season, coming into this game, there was only 3 teams who had scored less than them. So the problems are obvious, because I do agree with him in terms of the general building blocks of the performance aren't bad. But what use is that if you can't score a goal and you don't even look like scoring a goal? So Eddie's first answer was a little worrying, because he said, yeah, it's difficult to answer. He didn't really have the answers. I then went back and I asked him again. I said, listen, I'm sorry for repeating the question, but you look at that team sheet, you've got the personnel, so can you tell me why they just don't look like scoring a goal? And we sort of agreed in the end between the two of us that perhaps it is coming back to confidence, and he gave an answer where he said, we've struggled this season to have players together in the best moment at the same time. And I would go along with that, and you look at those there today. Alexander Isak, even before the injury, little quick insert on that, looks like a hip problem, an impact injury, thankfully not muscle, is what Eddie said. So I don't think that'll be too bad, to be honest with you. Perhaps there's a chance for Liverpool. But Alexander Isak, you know, his own performance, he went on that wonderful scoring run, but the last couple, has he just come off it a little bit? Anthony Gordon continues to be a puzzle wrapped inside an enigma, whatever that saying is, I don't know, but it applies to Anthony Gordon right now, because there's some good, some bad, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. His body language in different positions doesn't look good at times. He started on the right here today, eventually went to centre forward, and it's that continuation of square pegs and round holes and going back into midfield. Well, Sandro Tonali, he started in the middle. After all the video, we'll go back into the light, we're going to spin round. After all it's okay. After the video yesterday, when I said that the answer, the only thing left to explore really was Tonali in the 6 even, and Bruno in the 8. Well, that was why Eddie started today, and I was surprised at that, but it worked in terms of Tonali, I thought. Keep him in the 6, I thought he was good. Yeah, I thought he got on the ball, he put himself about, he looked far happier, and again, he looked enthused and energised, and he thrived with that responsibility of saying, okay, Sandro, you go in the 6. Bruno went to the 8 and didn't look happy at all in that area, not in the first half. He looked lost really, and everything I explored yesterday in terms of, is that actually the answer? Based on what I saw there today, I don't think it necessarily is. He got better in the second half, he was okay. He wasn't terrible, but he certainly looks to be better in the 6. So there you've lost that attacking threat really from number 8. Bruno didn't really offer anything in the final third. I thought Joe Willock on the other side of that midfield 3, well, I thought he had another poor game really after being not great on Monday night. It was a surprise that he started, given he did take that knock. I thought he might have left Longstaff in there if he was going to change one of the midfielders and bring Tonali in, but Willock started, but didn't really have a good game at all. I thought, didn't really win his duels, didn't get into the box, didn't offer anything, and you can apply this to all of them in attacking third. None of them offered anything, because the stats back that up, and wow, what a worry and what a concern that is, that Newcastle are coming here to a team who really aren't very good. If Palace are any good, they would have beaten Newcastle here today, and not to register an effort on goal and to come out of it. And the manager and myself and you guys, I don't really know the answer, and that is why there is the concern. If the answer was certain players coming back from injury, or you looked at it and thought, well, this is the obvious solution, but there isn't an obvious solution. They've tried almost everything. They've tried Gordon, left, centre, right. Isak's been there in recent weeks, but yeah, it's just not clicking there. And when that happens, it then filters back through the rest of the team, and it becomes a real problem, and one I think Newcastle have got right now. Now, how did the game go? Well, Newcastle, they started well enough. They had more of the ball, they had more of the territory, without making anything really of it. And you thought, yeah, this might just be a game whereby they can take control, and if they can just work one opening or whatever it may be for Alexander Isak, yeah, you can see them coming away from here with a victory. Palace, like Newcastle, offered close to nothing, but the longer that half went on, and when Isak went off, you finished the first half thinking Palace are going to go in front here. Daniel Munez somehow contrives to miss that chance at the far post, and Newcastle are lucky to get the half time at 0-0. Now, Harvey Barnes came on for Isak, and I know some of you guys will be questioning that. It was a question asked of Eddie Howe afterwards, why didn't you bring Wilson or, it's really noisy out here, why didn't you bring Wilson or Asula on? Well, Wilson wasn't yet ready to be brought on that early in a game, and well, Asula just isn't seemingly ready to be brought on, so it was Harvey Barnes who came on. But what that meant was Barnes on the right, Gordon through the middle, it's square pegs, round holes, and Newcastle looked worse for it, and they were lucky really to get to the point in the 53rd minute where they did take the lead. But to be fair, it's the one moment of quality they've produced. It's brilliant. A wonderfully worked short free kick involving Lewis Hall, Sandro Tonali, Anthony Gordon comes across, and yeah, of all the players to turn it in, it's Mark Gay. And thereafter, I thought they resisted well enough. Listen, Palace had chances. Palace would have been terribly unjust for them not to take anything from this game. They had chances.
Viva Colombia!
Yeah, Munez compatriot there. It looks like he's a happy man. In fact, it might be Munez himself. Yeah, and it looked like they'd done enough, and they'd somehow found a way to win, to come away with that victory. But it's the one moment, it's Mark Guy's cross as well. And Joe Linton had slotted in at left back in the second half there, and he'd been clearly tasked, even in the first half at times he was left wing back, tasked with tracking Daniel Munez, and the one time he loses him and Munez steals in, leaves them now in a position bouncing around that sort of mid-table area, and you just worry and wonder, is that what they are this season? I don't think they should be. I think they should be better than that. I know they're better than that. I know I've got the players and the manager to be better and to be higher than that. But right now, something isn't clicking. And I've been hugely supportive of Eddie Howe. I'm not going to go away from that. But I would put it back on him now. And I'd have concern over the answer he gave in terms of saying why it's difficult and it's hard to work out why they aren't scoring goals. That now is back on him because the personnel, the players are there. There isn't an injury crisis. It's over to the head coach and his staff to find a solution. Because if they don't, this season's going to get worse, not better. Now, funny enough, there is the scorer. There is Daniel Munoz just over my shoulder there. Understandably being, I was going to say mobbed, about 7 of them, but yeah, Crystal Palace fans are waiting for them, and you know why. I thought he was good today. He was probably Palace's biggest threat, and he did what Newcastle's wide men didn't do in terms of repeatedly raided the box. That's one thing I would come back to. Newcastle just don't get bodies in the box enough for the time. Those crosses, I don't know if they're bad crosses or they're good crosses, but just going to no one. I don't know, like a lot of these reflections in terms of what the manager said and what I'm saying. Again, it comes back to what I've said, more questions than answers. But to look at one element of Newcastle's play in the middle of the park, Tonali in the 6 and Bruno on the right, I thought Tonali did himself justice there in terms of all the questions around, what is he, what does he bring to the team, what is his role? Well, I must say, it's still only one Premier League victory for Sandro Tonali when he started the team. He still hasn't got that monkey off his back just yet, but certainly in terms of that performance, I thought there was reason for encouragement there. Now that leads me into the merit stars, and one, well, again, it's a lukewarm one, but that probably goes to Fabian Schär. He made a good intervention in the first half when Eze looked to break free, and he did okay. He was part of that resistance. 2 stars, and it's the guy I've just spoken about. Well, that's Sandro Tonali, given that responsibility in the middle of the park. I thought he started the game tremendously well. The first 15 minutes, he was getting in, he was nicking things, he was using the ball well. Even as the game went on, he was a real part of that resistance that looked like it was going to see home and protect those 3 points. So Tonali, worthy of the 2 stars. I think definitely it was a toss-up between him and the recipient of the 3, and I would definitely keep Tonali in that 6. I really would. I think he's earned another shot there. Absolutely. The 3, well, they go to Dan Burn. I thought he was colossus in the second half there. He headed everything, he kicked everything. There was one tremendous block as well. I thought Dan Burn really showed why. If he'd have been in the team against West Ham on Monday night, Newcastle probably would have won that game. It's 3 stars for Dan Burn, a player who, for me tonight, just really underlined his importance to the side. But Dan Burn and those at the back aren't the problem right now. It's those going forward at the other end. Well, guys, that just about wraps things up from me on what was a really disappointing afternoon. Listen, they've come here and they've taken an away point, but beyond that, look beyond the result. I come back to what I always say, and I leave here very concerned by that performance, by the functionality of the attacking unit. And of course you attack as a team. Are the fullbacks offering enough? Are Livramento and Hall, are they getting high enough up the pitch, offering enough quality in those areas? I don't think they are. Problem with Tonali and Bruno is I think they're happy playing more around halfway than they are breaking the lines, bursting into the area. Willock had an off day. Alexander Isak went off injured but looked isolated before that. Anthony Gordon isn't in a good place, a good space it seems, even though he's created the goal. And Joe Linton, I didn't think Joe Linton had a great game today. Certainly going forward, again, come back that phrase offered close to nothing. So I've gone through the entire team there. Callum Wilson looked okay when he came on, but they didn't provide or give anything to him really in terms of chances. So again, guys, I've walked and talked about here inside the stadium, outside the stadium, and it comes back to lots of questions for Eddie Howe to answer. And I think now, even though I've got full faith in the manager, absolutely, there is a little bit back on him now to find those solutions. And of all the teams he's got to find solutions against, next up, it's Liverpool on Wednesday. I'll be there. I'll be back on Tuesday after I've spoken to the manager. So in the meantime, guys, please hit like, comment, subscribe. Super thanks. And please, below the line, tell me what is the solution? What is the answer? Is it a change of personnel? A change of system? You see, Eddie was asked as the answer in January to go out and spend money. He said, well, no, we can't. We haven't got that to spend, really. So he's going to have to find those answers within what he's got. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.